My name is Mike Harkness. Back in 2000, I went through a horrific car crash that left me for dead. And when I was brought back, I had many unanswered questions. Join me and my team as we investigate the spirits that walk among us. OCP TV presents The Dead Tales.
We are also happy to be using this Thone building. I don't know if any of you have been here yet, but we're super glad to have this facility. So we are here today, and first things first, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Tim Thone. He is a reporter for the Paoli News Republican, and he's going to be asking Mike some questions for our event tonight. And then, without further ado, we have Mike Harkness. He has been a ghost hunter for 10 years. What started as sort of a family thing, a little bribe from his wife Laura, who's with us today, turned into a bigger event in their lives and their business, and a quest to find out if spirits walk among us. So without further ado, here is Mike Harkness.
Pleasure to have you here. Can everybody hear us fine? Everybody hear me fine? Okay. All right. I guess we're ready. Mike and I have known each other for quite a while, and I've heard some of these stories before, but everything always seems to come back to the accident you had on September 14th, 2000. Would you like to share about this pivotal moment and how it really kind of got everything started?
Yeah, that's, well, you started out with toughie, that's for sure. Yeah, September 2000 is very, I still get emotional about that day. It almost took me away from my family, friends, and everyone. But I was headed out to work, and unfortunately, somebody pulled out from me in a huge truck, 4 times bigger than my truck, and collided. The struggle to get out was real. I had a gear shift stuck in my side, so I had to manage that. I had a motor laying on top of me, a hood, dash, steering wheel that almost went through my neck. So the struggle was real to get out of my truck. The interesting thing is, or one of the interesting things is, I beat on the door to get out, and it came open. Now there's a lot. We'll get into that here in a little bit about the door coming open. But I managed to crawl. It was about 20 feet, and it took me what seemed 3 hours to get there because I didn't have no legs or anything like that to get that far. But I laid on the road and pretty much passed away. I went up into the tunnel of light, as they call it, and there I talked to my sister-in-law, but she passed away several years ago, Laura's sister. I talked to my uncle who passed away back in the 70s. I was very close to him. And then I talked to my grandmother on my dad's side, and they all three said, "Hey, it's time to go back home. You know, your job isn't finished." And so I could see the EMPs working on me as I was more or less hovering over top of them. And it just felt like I was sucked down into my body. And it's a very surreal experience to ever have that happen. It's one that I will never ever forget. You know, I lost my leg due to that car accident, so it's a lot of people say, "Can you not forget? Just put it behind you." Well, when you got to put on your leg every morning, it's hard to forget. So, what was your question?
That was pretty much it, but,
Now, I'll go off topic, guys, I am one that will go off topic a lot because that's just who I am, so.
I think you had a tough recovery, and, I think Laura is kind of responsible for getting you into paranormal investigation.
Oh, yeah.
I remember hearing something about, trying to get you out of the house and promising a steak dinner.
Yeah, so we were, so Laura wanted me to go to a haunted house, and I was like, I don't want to go because I don't want to see wires and trip lines and all this and that. And she said, no, there's nobody going to run after you with a chainsaw or anything like that. So I was like, okay, let's go. But I still didn't want to go. And so she bribed me with what's near and dear to my heart, steak dinner. And I went, but that's been quite a few years ago. I haven't had steak dinner yet. But yeah, so we went, and something happened that night. I didn't want to be there, and I promised her I would be good and not, try to expose things or this, that, and the other. And I seen a lot, so maybe I was in tune with another element that my body had tuned me into, that I seen things that night that they didn't see, that the investigators that were there didn't see, and it really, I don't know, it was eye-opening that I could see this and feel the things that I felt that no one else did.
I remember in your books, you talk about how you go in the rooms and just feel something. And
yeah, there was one room in particular, and actually Laura's mom was with us that night, and I could see it. I don't know, I'm gonna say the shadow that was hovering over her, and I was like, hey, you've got a shadow over top of you. She said, yes, I can feel it. And I said, well, I can see it. And so that kind of really put some kind of legitimacy into my head that there's something else out there.
I'm saying, before your accident, you never saw anything like that. I think you said after that, you kind of started seeing shadows.
Yeah. We bought an old house, and we always joked about the shadow man. And of course, my thing was, I don't care as long as it doesn't use electricity, it's fine. And so then afterwards, I could really see it more and kind of interact. And actually, we sold the house. We hunted that house again later. And that way I could really see if anything was in there. And it came out really positive.
So how did you get to actually doing investigations on your own rather than just joining a hunt to actually decide you want to do this?
Well, you know me, Timmy. I like doing things on my own, and not a control freak, but I just like doing things on my own. So that was the main driving factor, because it became a quest to find out how I got out of the truck, and that still drives me is how I got out of the truck. But I'll go into that here a little bit later. But it was fun. Everybody that we took with us, our first team, it was fun, and hey, let's do this on a weekend, let's build a bonfire out of this place, and blah, blah, blah. And, then I was like, if I seriously want to find out, A, how I got out of the truck, and B, if there is something else that walks with us, I probably need to get a little bit more stuff.
I think you had a little trouble when you first started going. What was it like in those first few investigations that you started to learn the ropes and how best to investigate?
We had no idea what to do. That's pretty much how you can say that. We had no clue. You can watch ghost hunting shows on TV all the time. It's nothing like going out. We call it fishing. Is what we call it. So you can sit out at the lake all day, fish, drink beer, and catch nothing. You know, or you can catch something and be productive. It's pretty much, we don't drink beer when we go out, but we do a lot of fishing. So.
And you don't really like the term ghost. Why is that?
Ghost reminds me of Saturday morning cartoons. I think that I like the word spirit. Now we are deemed ghost hunters. Of course, we have to be. But as long as we've been doing this now, I think ghost seems, I don't know, kind of Saturday morning cartoonish to me. I think I'm hunting for more than Casper. I don't know if I'm allowed to say Casper, but I'm going to say it.
Speaking of television, your encounters with spirits is nothing like TV. Just what is it actually like encountering a spirit? What's the difference in the preconceptions that people may have?
Well, we all encounter spirits every day. It's just how we perceive it and feel it. Because you're going to feel, if you're lucky enough to even see an apparition, you're going to feel it first before you ever see it. And seeing an apparition is like the Holy Grail, I would say. The first time we were at the place called the Hell House, and we never really seen anything. We felt a lot, and then we'd go back on our, listen to the voice recorders, and we would hear a lot, but it wasn't until, I don't know, probably 3-4 months into it that we actually started seeing, because we got in tune with our environment. So you have to be in tune to see one, I guess. So I guess to answer your question, first time we've seen one, pretty cool.
Since you can't really usually see them, what are some of the equipment you use? How do you try to find a spirit?
So we have a lot of apps that we use, and we use some equipment. Our theory is equipment is something somebody tries to sell you to make them rich. I mean, I'll make apps and I'll make equipment all day if somebody will buy them, and say they are what they are. But the more electronics you use, if you go ghost hunting, the more energy they're going to use, and that way, you're going to be less likely to even feel anything, hear anything, or see anything, because they've used all their energy up in all these electronic devices just trying to survive. So we don't equipment. We use cameras. Of course, we have to use cameras, and we use our phones. We have a regular camera that we take pictures with. Pretty much that's it. We go on my feelings. Pretty much I'm pretty spot on.
And I know you've undertaken quite a few investigations. What are some of the towns and states that you investigated?
One of our best ones, because we like business, man, in Georgia. So that would be a wish list to just move down there and stay and live on one of the squares. They have multiple squares, and do our investigations down there. But Bedford, Lawrence County, we did quite a few here in Lawrence County, and not only at the museum, which I don't know how many guys are from Lawrence County, but the museum is awesome. So shout out to those guys. It's got a lot of history to it too that things have attached themselves to. But Paoli, Valine, I don't know any, or Valine, but that's pretty rich hunting grounds. Orleans, French Lick, got North Carolina, where Blackbeard's Ghost is at. Beaufort, what it's called. Just general. Laura, she has did an all-nighter at what's that place called? Waverly. Yeah, Waverly. And she thought it was very, very cool because what she recorded and I was too cheap to spend $100, but that's just me. So, but if anybody, and that's Laura, my wife, partner in crime, so. And my technician and his other half, and they help me, Tasha, Cecil's my technician, and Tasha, she does like my books and stuff, and we'll get into that here a little bit later, but we have very strict, rules on books and such, so, but anyway, we'll get I'm sorry, I'm all over the place.
So how do you determine where you're going to investigate?
Well, when we first started out, it was a matter of us calling people and say, hey, can we do this? And then they start eating nuts and blah, blah, blah. But now we've got people that call us. It's kind of amazing the response now that we're out there and legit, that people call us and places call us. And, so that's how now we do it. So we rely on the call in and stuff. If there's a place we really want to do and they have not called us or anything, then we'll make contact. That's Cecil's job. So.
How do you narrow down from the people that call you which ones are worthwhile investigations?
Well, the first thing we do is we screen. We do have a history guy who looks at all the history of everything we do. And he's actually from here in Bedford, and we call him the Big Ragu, is what we call him. But, so if he tells us, hey, you know, there's maybe something there, blah, 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 then we'll do an initial visit. And then we won't bring too much of anything, we'll just talk and go over a few things. And if I can justify it's not a squirrel or a raccoon in a crawl space, then we'll bring back some equipment and go back to Springville. And one of the probably top 5 scariest places we've ever been, and it was a double wide. And so the guy gives me a call, and he's like, hey, my son has an imaginary friend. Okay? Like, I still have imaginary friends. They're the only one that listens to me. So, and so I was like, okay. So this was pre-Cecil, but me and one of my other lead investigators, we went up and we talked to the family, and the little 4-year-old boy kept talking about a kid named Corey. And very awkward in the house. And the kid had just got a coat. And it was a new coat. It was going in the fall. It was getting cooler. And I asked him, I said, that's a pretty cool coat. Do you like that coat? He said, yeah. He said, I like it. That's okay. So that recorded session that we got, we listened to it on the way back home, and I just chalked up the brakes and pulled over, and I looked over at my other investigator and said, did you hear that? He said, yeah. So I called the homeowner. I was like, listen, man, we will be back. He said, what's going on? I said, well, do you remember we asked him about his coat? He said, yeah. He said he likes that jacket. I said, so take a listen at this. So I played it over to him on the phone, and it said he hates his jacket. So we went back up to that house. It was a few weeks later, and I don't know, there was probably 8 of us that went in to investigate. All 8 of us were almost sick when we entered that house, and it just felt like there was an impending doom that was looming over us. It was a horrible feeling. But I said, hey, let's just be cautious, and we're going to go ahead and investigate anyway. So me and Danny, as he's referred to in my book, we went into the little boy's room. Now, this was back when we carried a lot of equipment with with its stuff. So we unplugged the TV, and he had some gaming systems and stuff like that. So we unplugged everything, and we was kind of, you know, making small talk with the spirit. So we hear a bang on the closet door, a couple bangs, and the air just automatically, like it was choking it. I mean, it was so big. And then the kid's little wind-up car went across the floor. We didn't touch it or anything. It just went across the floor, and then the TV came on. Now, TV's unplugged, so the TV came on, and it was nothing but static. And then the radio came on, which we unplugged, and his little gaming light on his console came on. So we hung it out there for probably about 10 minutes more, but like I said, the air was so bad, it was choking us. So as we walked out of the little boy's bedroom, the light in the utility room came on, the dryer came on, the lights started coming on as we was walking past every room, the lights would come on. So we all kind of huddled up a little bit, and I said, this place is horrible. You know, I said, we'll stick it out for a little bit longer. I said, but we're not going to stay here because one was going to get hurt. So we said, let's investigate in the living room portion of the house. I remember this was just the 1980s, late 80s double wides, all was. And so we started doing some questions, and the silverware drawer flew open. Silverware's flying out all over the kitchen. The cabinet doors are open, banging and shutting, and I said, hey, it's time for us to go. And I said, you asked me to find out if there's something here. I said, there's something here. I said, we're leaving. And so come to find out, they moved like days after that. But the guy was into a lot of witchcraft, Ouija boards, and stuff like that. So he kind of invited stuff in on that. So I don't remember what your question was, but
What is the goal of your investigation? You're not trying to get rid of anything.
no, I don't think we can do that. People just they want us to find out if there's something there, and that's our goal, is to our best ability to say, hey, there's something. And that's it. That was a short one, but
Yeah. Now you mentioned that was your top 5. What was your scariest investigation?
the Hell House in Orleans, Indiana. Probably number 1 scariest place that I could ever think of. We've been to, and I'll get back to that again, but we've been to the Sorrel and Weed House down in the Savannah, and that place is horrid. That place, there's been professionals go in there and they left running. That one is where a Civil War general, he gave his son a job, and that was to be a surgeon. So his son was not mentally able to be a surgeon. So he would amputate, kill people down in the basement, and then they would just toss limbs and stuff outside. And so that basement is very mind-altering place. A lot of tricks on the mind. It's very cold, but it can turn hot, where it's that choking thing is at the second level. But the one in Orleans. Oh yeah, actually, the master slept with a slave girl. She jumped out the window, couldn't hit her. She died on the sidewalk beside the house, right? And then they hung another one. So yeah, that was hard. But anyway, back to the Orleans house was probably the one where the scariest and where I've had physical harm done to me. I was through a wall, and actually, I think the wall I was purposely through the wall because in that wall was another room that had been blocked off for like 50 years. answers to what we were looking for. But I was actually, another one of my investigators was in a wheelchair that a woman died in. And he thought it was, but he was sitting in that, and I was sitting on the bench. And we heard a growl and footsteps. He got chucked out of the wheelchair and across the room. And then I found the wall, which my head was sticking through, my shoulders were sticking through, and I was all bloodied up, and it hurt quite a bit. Of course, Laura's got the best quote of all in this, and we wasn't supposed to be upstairs in this room, and because it was around, and Laura says, of course, big old hole in the wall, and she's like, well, now, how do you think I'm not going to notice that now? So, but yeah, she's got a lot of good quotes. we was walking through the, I got to pick on her for just a second. We were walking through the graveyard in Paoli, and my right leg is a prosthetic. I fell, and they all love it when I fall, they all laugh. But I had fell, and I was like, oh man, I think I twisted my ankle. And she said, which one? So, scary. Oh yeah, but no Orleans Hell House. Scary.
So you mentioned that you could actually feel it. Have you ever had like any marks or?
Oh yes, I've been actually next door at the museum. I've been scratched and clawed a few times. So it just depends on how angry you make them. There's been quite a few places that I've been bloodied up. Yeah.
All right, and move a little safer. What's just the most active, not necessarily
The most active, it would have to again be that Hell House one. Not only was that our first one that we ever done solo, but it was. We have not ran anything into anything that has been close to that. So, and what we kind of through some history and stuff, there's three graves in the back, and there's a couple murders and stuff like that. And that's stuff information we could have used a year earlier. So,
I'll say you mentioned your team. You also mentioned finding information. I'll say, how important is a team, and how do they help you?
Team's very important. Back in the day, I'm going to say back in the day, Laura, she would watch our monitors for us, and then we'd communicate with walkie-talkies. Well, that created a mess. We were at one place. This is my story. We was at one place, and so I yelled down to Laura on the walkie-talkie, "Hey, it says you got a dead body up here." And guess what frequency we're on? The fire departments, and they're like, "Dead body where?" So yeah, we ditched the walkie-talkies after that one. I'm like, we'll make another crime scene. But the team's very important because they have to have my back. The monitor watchers has to have my back because we don't know, if anything's coming up, and she can see. She knows the difference of what to look for, what to look for, or if it's going to cause a little bit of problems, or one does make it. So, and now we're into the media side of things. The team is very important because we are trying to capture an audience. So we don't want to be this all professional and loose focus of what we're doing. We're just kind of chugging, mellowly along to keep it real because a lot of it's not real. Like then we go back to the fishing thing and sit at the lake and fish, or you can sit by the lake and catch.
What are some of the different things your team does? I know you said Laura watches the monitor. What all does it entail to actually do an investigation?
Cecil, like I said, he does paperwork and electronic work and stuff like that. Our kids, when they go, you know, they help investigate. Xavier, he's a techie, so he does on the tech side as well. Dawn, she's went with us a couple times, and you know, she's helped investigate. We all have to look after each other, because, like I said, things could get dangerous. There's a stairwell next building across, and we really have to watch out for everybody in that stairwell. So it's just more of everybody's got another role, I guess. Cecil, another role Cecil has is I get to mentor him all the time, right? And he answers all the questions on Facebook and all that stuff. So team's important.
What do you mean you have to look out for each other?
Well, we've had a few people who have came with us. We had one guy that came with us, and he looked like he had crawled underneath barbed wire. And of course, he went alone. You know, he kind of strayed off from us. We couldn't see him. I mean, he was clawed. He left. He was like, I don't know what that is. But we've actually had mediums, and that was at the Hell House, especially. So, weird question was going on.
What is that? How do you look out for each other?
Oh, yeah. So the biggest thing is communication. If we see something, then we gotta, you know, we'll text each other information or call each other information. If we find something really cool, hey, did you guys get that on camera or whatever? I know at the museum we've had TV come on by itself. And to capture that, which we captured it, it's totally awesome. I mean, just to have a TV come on. And like we're all sitting there going, you know, trying to investigate.
I was gonna say, now you have the things like TVs coming on, and that's obvious, but what are some of the things you're actually typically looking for when you're at a site?
If we go to a site, we don't look for the big ticket items. Because most of the time you're not going to get anything. We'll get the taps and the drums, maybe some knobs. Biggest thing, if you got stairs, is you'll hear footsteps on them. And that's probably one of the biggest things. So then you need to, you know, find out if that's Cecil walking up the stairs, or it's actually, you know, something on the stairs. So the Ragu, our historian, he does a real good job of finding out the history if we find something. So I know he's big on airplanes, and we did an investigation in Indianapolis at a plane crash site and I know he's going to remind me tomorrow, and I'm wrong, but 89 people died in this plane crash. It hit the ground at 475 miles an hour. So it made a big thud, and it buried itself in the ground. Horrible wreck, and it happened in 1969. And limbs, arms, and legs flew into a trailer court across the street, so they had to bring fire trucks in to work. And that's why I don't fly, but Laura's making me fly in August. But you know, he told us the history of that. So it's important that he had the history, because an unbelievable thing happened that day to us when we investigated it. One cool thing is we got probably 10 names off the manifest list of people that were on the plane. Second cool thing is in my car, and Laura's like, "Get that out of my car! Stop carrying it around." But we got debris from the plane crash off the plane itself. And then I don't know, probably the best thing that came out of that, we had found a huge piece, and it still had the letter and the stuff of Allegheny on it, and that's that's the plane that's wrecked in that field. But we was walking on this cornfield, and we see a family, and there's 4 of them standing there. Hey, how you doing? You know, whatever. Oh, that's fine. I was like, you guys here to, because it was the 49th anniversary, I think, of the crash. I said, you know, you guys here to check it out, whatever. And he said, my dad was a pilot. And I said, this belongs to you, man. So we gave him the huge piece that said Allegheny. His dad was a hero, I'm telling you. He 89 people perished, but there could have been hundreds of people if he would not steer away from that trailer course. That guy was a hero. And actually, we keep a little bit of contact. He messages us on Facebook every once in a while. So it's a pretty good. That's a good story. I mean, and he hadn't been there in years. It just so happened that when we were walking down the field, their family was there. I mean, it just really set us back. So, and off subject again, we were investigating a place in French Lake T-shirt shop, and we held a paranormal class. Okay, and so, and it was a huge group that was there. So, Cecil and Tasha, and there was something there. There had been a guy that died there, and so we was fishing around for this guy that kept on coming up. And so the name came up on our office, and I was like, this is weird. I know this name. And so I pretty much stopped and I said, so does everybody remember the car wreck that happened here so many years ago? And everybody said, yeah. So a guy stands up and he said, yeah, that was my sister. And then his whole family stood up. I was like, are you kidding me? So yeah, that was and then right after that, all of our equipment shut down, our phones died, everything. I mean, everything just absolutely. So that was a pretty surreal experience.
Seems like finding out the history of a place is really important. It helps further the investigation. Sometimes it seems like it makes it even more active if you have a clue. So
yeah, they don't like to be stirred up. They don't like to. They don't like to be remembered of where they were. You know, and we always tell anybody that goes, if we bring the people that go with it constantly, they know. But if there's somebody that goes with us that hasn't been before, we tell them, do not ever say. You can help. Can't help them. They're where they're at. You know what I'm saying? So if you want one of them to tag along home with you, then just tell them, hey, we can help you out, whatever. So it just can't be done. So we tell them that's one of the no words to say. History is a big thing. A lot of it is a residual. We was at a factory once, and a guy, a night watchman, had a heart attack and died there several years back. I think it was back in the 50s. So we were up in this crow's nest about like that up there, and we kept on hearing footsteps walk up the stairs all the way up. I'm like, hey, who's down there, you know? And they're like, nobody's down here. Footsteps came up, walked right past us. We could feel a cold wind, footsteps, and there was an old time clock there, not a time clock, but a night watchman's clock, you know, where they did their security checks. And it sounded like something went in, the clock ticked, you know, to punch, hey, I was here at this hour. Footsteps went right by. Let's see if that does that next hour. And next hour, same thing. So that feller, I think, is just doing his job, and he's maybe stuck in time. I don't know. Like I said, we can't help him. Yeah, I don't know if that answered any one of your questions.
does your investigation sometimes help locations and maybe quiet it down, or at least give some people peace of mind of what happens going on?
Yeah, I mean, we've helped out quite a few people quieten down. I don't know. We try to keep up with, you know, some of the places we've been, but the Hell House, after we left there, it kind of found out what went on there. It quieted down for just a little bit. They moved away, and I don't know. I guess it was 2 years later. I was eating breakfast, and down at where in Paoli, breakfast at everyone at Reds, so I get a call from my friend, and he's like, "Hey, guess where I'm at working today?" He does carpet tile stuff like that. And I said, "Where?" He said, "The Hell House." And I was like, "Kidding me?" He said, "No." And he said, "Nobody's here. If you want to come over." So I was like, "Yeah." So I darted over and walked through, and they said that it was nice and peaceful, but after I left, it turned into a nightmare for me. So I don't know. It may be just me. You know my personality is. So.
And what are some of the things you try to do sometimes to get a house more active?
And my job, I guess, one of my job is whatever drives them out, I guess, you know what I'm saying? I get a little cagey every once in a while with them, but I don't try to get too mean because I don't want to hurt myself. I've never, it goes back to your question about how's this, did you ask that question about the movie? How's it different than movies?
Yeah.
I've never ever seen a ghost in all the years that we've done this pick up a chainsaw and chase anybody around. So, never seen it, and I probably don't think I ever will. So yeah, so that may answer one.
Well, speaking of that, is it not being like the movie. It's not like it's always portrayed in the movie as kind of a see-through version of a person.
Right. My book too has got a picture of an apparition on it, and it is, to see it in person is totally different than the book cover. But it was green and red, all different colors, but it was shaped as a person, holding faith. The place where Rue was at, we can go, which brings me to probably my third top scary place, the Valley Cemetery. You can go down there, anybody can go down there, and noon, 1, 2 o'clock, whatever in the afternoon, and see little ghost kids running around. It's there. We have, there's a guy that walks in the woods line. We call him the Shadow Man. He never comes out of the woods. And then there's a guy who goes to his wife's grave every evening. And then he looks down, and you can actually see the figure of this guy, and he'll kind of like bow down with her, where she's buried with her husband, new husband, and see him walk off. So we don't know where he's buried at because he kind of like disappears before he gets to where he's going, but it's like daily, every time we've been there, we can see that. And there's a good story about that place because it has to do with Civil War, and Valine is kind of far north of the Civil War guy, and a family got burned in their home. The name of the second book is called Grandma's Baby because Grandma, Grandpa, and babies perished in a fire that the Confederates burned their house down around them. So those spirits are still there. I mean, like I said, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, anybody can come down there and see the little ghost kids running around and all that. So the cemetery sits on top of the hill. It's been probably a couple of years since we've been there, but we're planning on taking a group from Indianapolis. They contacted me and they want to go during a dental. They're having some kind of dental convention. They're like, "Hey, can we go down there?" I was like, "Good," or whatever. So, yeah. So.
You mentioned your books. I know 2 of them are about your investigations. One of them is about your accident. I'll say, what made you want to write about this?
Well, the third book was actually the first one. Part of my therapy was mental therapy, was writing down what I had went through. So actually the third was the first, and I just kept a journal. I don't write. I don't I just thought writing about the experience of our team and what we've done would be a pretty cool thing to do. Something to do at night. Now it's pretty much all the time, but it keeps me motivated to find out more, and I've got a lot more to find out.
So you describe your books as conversational literature. You want to explain a little bit about what that means and how your books are a little bit different than the typical book?
Yeah, my books are just like this. I go off subject, go on tangents, go on tirades. They're my books. Everybody's got a book in them. I don't know, and it goes to the control thing again. I wrote one book, first book, or third book once, okay, and I sent it to the editor, and what she came back with was words that I don't use. It's like, really, what is this paragraph? Like, I can't have this. I want my words. If I'm gonna say damn in a book, it's gonna be in there. You're not gonna mark it out because you don't believe in saying damn. Sorry, but anyway, there's another off course again. But my books are mine. I don't do it to make money off of it. I just do them to do them. And so I don't know. I just think everybody needs to break the trouble with this, not be so politically correct. And if it makes them good, good. You know what I'm saying? That's what I believe. And if anybody has read my books or wants them, whatever, you'll see that it's pretty much like talking to me right here. That's what it's about. So I don't want to be fake in my books. I misspell tons of words. Poor Natasha. That's all I can say. She has to decipher what the world I'm even saying, because the first one I give her, it was like 300 pages of one paragraph. So, so I try to do a better job now, and I think I do, but still the structure isn't right. And I say that in this latest book, the structure isn't right, the grammar's not right, and I don't care. So,
and so what are some of the things you covered in the book? What are some of the investigations you go over?
The first one's the Hell House, and started the Hell House, Valley Cemetery in the Springville. And the second one goes into Springville, and the Valley Cemetery some more. Number 4, it's about 4 other places, and I really don't disclose that one yet. And then number 5, which I've almost got done, it's going to be a comic series of it. So it's something I want to do. It'll probably go over like 11 months today.
And has your investigation attracted any attention from others?
Yes, we have been very fortunate. We did about 4 casting calls for major TV stations, or I guess you could say, companies and stuff. Currently, they use some of our videos on their Halloween specials, so you can tune in to ones that are doing Halloween specials, and they use our videos, couple of videos. One of them is the only one ever documented of a door opening by itself, and we have that video, which is really cool. To go through that procedure, that's really, talk to these Hollywood people, and of course we're normal people. We're country folk. Pretty much how we're not going to portray it any different. We're going to, not be somebody we're not. So,
what do you think about you getting their attention? I think you're a little bit different than the stereotypical.
Well, yeah, because we're serious, but we do a lot of cutting up. If anybody watches our YouTube channels, we cut up a lot, make fun of people, but we have to. And so I think they like the banter of that, and I think we're just real fucking life. I did have the dead sled, and that got a lot of attention. And for those of you who don't know what the dead sled is, I bought a hearse, real nice hearse. I really liked it. It drove and rode really great, and I had it lettered up, the dead sled, and it was really cool. But the dead sled's dead, and so we would use that in marketing stuff, and they really liked that aspect of it. It's just one of the TV series we thought we were going to get. It's now out. They've went a 180, so they're using some old people, not old people, but old people from some of the most popular teams that have split, and now they're doing what our idea was. So right now, we do Facebook Lives. We try to do all of our hunts live. So that way we get more of an interaction with our audience. And we'll find out here next. We're live right now on Facebook, so we'll get questions from you guys and plus our audience. But if anybody watched our series Thursday night, heard what happened, I'm here and I'm alive. So we had we had a misfortune that happened, but then we had to cut early. But yeah, I'm here. So it's just been the social media aspect of it has been really cool.
Where can they turn into see investigation?
Go to Facebook and it's OCP. Just look for the first lettered up and people stand in front of it. That's us.
Currently undergoing any investigation?
Yeah, we're doing one now, and we have to put it as undisclosed. And other than that, I don't know, I've got other things in the fire, so we just kind of, the museum, we can always go back there, and actually we talked about, we have a corporate company that wants to send their employees to do a ghost. I guess it's kind of a team building thing, I don't know, whatever. So we're going to plan for that one coming up. And then season 5 or episode 5 or 6 is going to be loaded up on YouTube here probably the next couple of weeks, so you can catch that one as well. You know, when you watch us, you're watching us. Cecil has he uses that delete button more than so.
And in the past, you've had people join you on investigations. Are people still able to go with you?
Yeah, we have to before we bring, my insurance life and stuff like that. We want to make sure that I'm not saying the place is secure, but we want to be able to trust the place before we want people to come in, potentially get hurt and stuff like that. So we'll investigate the place quite a few times before we start inviting people. Because number one, and if we go back to the fishing thing again, if I'm gonna go forward and go fishing, do I want the guy that just started out, or do I want the experienced guy who can lead me to the fish? So that's pretty much the way we're looking.
If somebody wants to join you, how would you go about doing that?
It takes a lot to join our group. They can participate, but it takes a lot to join.
Well, just to go on.
Okay. Well, just look at our site, and on our site is we have different hunts, what's going to come up, and if it's public or private. So you look at that, and pretty much probably need to be the first one to hit, hey, I want to go. So because we've sold out one place, and we don't even have the exact. We got the date, but we don't have our times and stuff out, and we've overbooked it, so which is a great thing to have.
But even if they can't join you, they can still watch it.
You can watch it live, yeah. I mean, that's like being in your warm house, eating popcorn, and a lot of people do that. Her sister, Laura's sister, she said the other day, I was like, hey, we're going to this place, and we're going to be live, and she said, oh, great. She said, I'll get my popcorn ready and curl up in a blanket, and I'll watch you guys. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Before I turn it over to the audience and see if they have any questions.
Go ahead, me another hard one.
Oh, yes. After all the investigations, everything you've seen, have you ever figured out how you managed to get out of the vehicle, out of your truck?
Get out of the old truck.
Because I think your family said there was no way you got out to the door.
Yes, so when I was in the hospital at U of L, me and my dad, I got my breathing tube out, and that was just absolutely horrible to begin with. But I was going through a very emotional state at that time. I'm not a crier, but I tell you what, it takes a toll on a person to, you know, to take a gear shift out of your body to get the hell out of the truck. Oops, sorry, but to get out. So Dad was asking me, how did I get out? How did I get out? I told him, I said, you know, I just beat on the door until it came open. He said, no. Okay, Dad. So finally, after a couple minutes of arguing about it, I was like, well, how the hell to get out? You know, and he said, I don't know. He said, but the door that I got out of, the passenger side door, was crushed into the bed of the truck. And there's no way, I mean, there wasn't nothing left in the truck, so there's no way that I opened the door to get out of the truck. So take that as a sign or whatever, but to this day, I have no idea. How did I lay over in the seat? I don't know. I mean, I was going 60 miles an hour, and I stood up on the clutch and the brake, and I don't remember laying over into the seat, but I had to lay into the seat or I'd been decapitated because the steering wheel was into the back of the seat, the back part of the seat. So, I don't know. I guess if I ever find that out, I'll probably die the next day. But that's my. I don't know. It doesn't eat me alive, but the older I get, it weighs really heavy on me because I said I would never get to the point to where it affects the way I think or, you know, my daily living. And I mean, here recently, it's just I hit 50 2 weeks ago, and it's been 18 years since 19th year since I had the wreck, and I still remember it like it was yesterday, like it just happened. And I don't know, it's probably not going to go away, and I'll probably find out that I am dead. I mean, I'm sure that's when all answers these questions will be answered. You know, take Laura. You know, I put her and the kids in a position to where, I mean, I'm in bed. I can't move. You know, so she has to work and be the breadwinner now, take care of the house and all this and that. The role that I was in, and I have to kind of just step back and not like the position I'm in, but I can't help it because I can't walk. Or, you know, it's just so kudos to that. You know, when I did get I got my leg took off. Almost, it was one day before the second anniversary of my wreck, September 13th. And it's really funny how I learned how to walk. And I wish one of my nurses was supposed to be here. I got a really tight bond with my nurses and she's probably listening, so I'm going to tell the story anyway. But I had to go to a pain center for quite a few years. And so it was snowing one day. I was like, hey, Lisa, I go outside, I need some air or whatever. So she pushed me outside in a wheelchair, and it wasn't too many people I let push me in a wheelchair. Laura's one, but boy, I didn't trust her. And Lisa was the other one. And she pushed me outside all right, and the snow was falling and started to gather on me. So I wheeled the wheelchair over to the window about 15 minutes early. I'm like, knock. Hey, it's cold. So, yeah. So if you're listening, Lisa. Yeah.
That does it for my questions. Does the audience have any questions they'd like to ask Mike?
Anybody?
I'll jump at once.
Have we got any Facebook questions?
He answered most of them, but the most popular question is, how can they go with us? And then the second most popular, I guess that's not the most popular question. The most popular thing is Grayson and Mia are watching and they want to shout out the Paoli.
Oh.
That's the most important part right there, so.
Well, hey, Chuck and mosquitoes. That's my granddaughter and my grandson. And Brett, if he's watching, hey, how's it going, Taterbug? And we have another grandson, Ollie. And hey, Spuds is his name. So, yeah.
You seem to have more services for analog.
We don't have too much digital. Like I said, we don't go in with a lot of equipment because whatever is going to be in there is going to waste itself on the equipment. So, because I don't know how many people's been ghost hunting. You know, you go ghost hunting, you come in full charge on battery on your phone, and then you leave an hour later and it's dead. Well, that's it, trying to suck the energy. So just imagine if you've got 10 phones out and some, let's say a camera and all this and that. Well, it's going to suck itself dry trying to hit everything in the room to suck it out. So that's why we don't go into a lot of the equipment wise. They trust my feelings. And then if my feelings are right, which pretty much they are, then we'll break out the equipment and actually see what's there. We had a $15,000 heat-seeking gun that we used once. And actually it caught unbelievable, but I'll never pay $15,000 for that either. So,
So you stick with analog.
yeah, there's a lot of apps on the phone, and I use probably 5 apps, a lot of jokes, but we've went through enough of them to know what's pretty accurate and which ones aren't. So it's just trial and error and what you feel comfortable with. You know, we use motion detectors a lot, and we've carried on quite a few conversations with motion detectors. Now, it sounds odd, but we can get yes or no's, and we can get names out of motion detectors. Yeah. Like I say, it just takes practice to do that, and kind of know how to do it. We'll use, a beach ball, perfect for doing stuff. Little kids' cars. We've used little army men. We've used those as well, and come back a week later and find out that they've been moved here or there, or completely knocked over. So there's non-battery operated things that you can use to do it. So that's why we'd like to be, because I don't want trickery or anything about religion. Yes. I don't know. Cecil is our non-believer, and he used to fight me tooth and nail. And we did an investigation at one house, and we had light fixtures falling out on top of us. You would have to ask him if he feels anything, you know what I'm saying? Because like I said, he is and I want that on my team. I want a true skeptic. I want somebody that's going to question what I'm feeling at all times, but I guess to answer your question, I don't know. I mean, it took a my grill to get me in tune, so. Yes. Yes. Well, she'll see, our monitors, of course, they're all infrared and stuff like that. So she'll get to see orbs and the different colors in the orbs. She'll get to see shadows, mist, and stuff like that. So that's what she is looking for. And she's did it enough that she knows what to look for. Or, you know, I mean, a lot of people call a dust ball a door. Well, you got to know what you're looking for in it to differentiate that. So, and she's done enough that she can tell us, hey, you got an orb moving up on you, or hey, you know, it's just dust is all it is. I guess we just trained ourselves for that. Yeah. I didn't agree. I'm sorry.
Do you see them in your daily life?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just different. Places I'm at, there's nothing. we go to the museum and we just hang out, you know, whatever. And I can see, feel. Like I say, first thing I do is feel. I can feel when something's there, and then I start to look, you know, and I don't know. I can usually see mist or something. No, I'll see shadows and the mist. You know, we've had I guess one of us followed us home. I don't know, but they're not allowed to electricity, like I said. But I see that say it, you know, he or she all the time. I think it's my sister-in-law or sister, but I can't prove it. I'm not going to prove it. That's one rule that I have is I will not hunt my relations or friends. So that's something that I will not do. Yes. Yeah, because some people have the attraction like a magnet, and some people don't. You know, it has to be. Let's see how to phrase this. It has to be drawn to them or be with them. I guess that's what I would say. And everybody can see them. They just have to unlock that other sense, I guess. And like I said, it took, you know, the wreck, I guess, for me. Do I? Yeah, because if it wasn't for that, I'd be like saying, so, yeah.
So you said that never asked can you help?
Yes.
If you don't have the cash. Have you ever gotten a feeling that they have wanted help or?
Yes. Yeah, they all want help because, you know, I have a belief if I can see them and communicate with them, they're wanting something, you know, to avenge a murder maybe or a death that was at the wrong time. You know, I don't know, but it is what it is, you know, and that's pretty much what I have to tell them. It is, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. You know, we picked up a recording once, and I used the word, you know, do you want to bring justice to somebody? Class A EVP was, death is justice, there will be justice. And that's what we picked up. Don't know if they was talking about the murder at the house that went on after that, where the woman killed her husband. I don't know, but that was what we got. And that house had a portal, so it was there was stuff going on everywhere. So, there's been probably 3 or 4 places that we've been to that's had portals. Energy is like a difference between a severe thunderstorm and a little thunderstorm. So, yeah, because if you're standing next to a portal, it's not good. That's when you're going to get scratched, you know, something physical happening is that moment. Got any Facebook question?
You've answered most of them.
Oh, good.
One of the questions was where you can get your books at.
They can get it off Amazon or they can drive up here real quick. One of the two. Yeah.
I was just wondering, have you experienced portal outside or they all
You experience anywhere. At the Valley Graveyard, we've experienced there. Bob Mackey's, you know, that's supposed to be a huge portal over in Cincinnati. We we have not been there yet. We was going to go, but something happened that night. We couldn't go. There's one there. You know, I guess we tend to think of the dead as dead. More dead than what there is alive. You know, so I guess if they're going to come up, they got to have more places for three to come up. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but yeah.
Are you saying that some people are more susceptible to see and experience things than others?
Yes.
Even when it's the same house?
Yes. Yeah, it just, like I said, it depends on if you have that sixth sense developed, and you have to be absolutely open-minded to it. You know, if you're closed-minded to it, you're never going to see anything. That's like wrong with English, but you're probably never going to see anything. But you probably won't see, what you're trying to get the other person to see. I mean, you just got to be really open-minded about looking at that.
And your first hunt, you talked about you can see all these things, and Laura was disappointed because she saw nothing.
She saw nothing, yeah. Yeah, pretty much. And to this day, I mean, she still has a hard time seeing what I can see. But I learned this has nothing to do with ghost hunting. It's just kind of cool, but I opted out of. I was years into. We about at the time. Okay. We were. I was years of taking medicine, painkillers, stuff like this. I had a pump implanted inside of me, and it pumped medicine 24/7. So I wanted to get off of that. My liver's damaged from it and everything like that. So I started going to a therapist, and it took a lot of years, but she taught me how to kind of put myself in a hypnotic state to relieve pain. So I tried to teach Laura that, and I fall asleep. But it's pretty cool to be able to do that. Control your breathing, your heart rate, and everything. So it's pretty cool. I know that's totally off subject, but like I said, I wander everywhere. So anybody else? Nobody on this side here. You got to get involved. Come on. Where are you guys from? Here, Bedford. You drove all this way. You're not going to ask a question? Come on. Don's from Frisch Lick area. I know that. Don, you got nothing to ask? You're not going to ask me about Bonch Chapel, really?
Definitely not.
Okay, so has everybody heard about Bonch Chapel, the chain on the graveyard or gravestone, stuff like this? That's her church. So that's one of the first things she asked me because they want me to do something. And have you ever investigated Bonch Chapel? And I said, yeah. I said we've been there quite a few times, and it's a graveyard that we've never seen anything at or had any activity at or anything. So to us, I don't think there's anything there. So they went, okay. All right, so we took a trip there about a month or so ago. Yeah, and I've got one leg. Okay, so me going up the hillside ain't gonna work. So, but we will eventually get there and investigate it. But for right now, it's just feasible. Yeah. What kind of equipment did we use when we what? Oh. Well, motion lights, we use that, but we still use motion lights now. And then Ovilus, we still use that, but we went to and it's called the Spain Spirit Box, and it's been very accurate. Everything's in Spanish until the the spirit speaks, and it's in English. So, and most of what we hear is pretty spot on. So it's just a Spain spirit box, is what it's called. So there's some that use, it looks like a small radio, and it's got a microphone, and it makes noises, and I hate that thing. So if you want a ghost hunt, do not use nothing like that, because the ghosts are going to get annoyed and laugh at you and not do anything. So, anything else?
You used to use a lot of stationary cameras too.
Yes.
That was the question. What equipment did you use before we kind of discontinued using it? And now we use camera one in our live feed mostly because it's more portable than the stationary.
I went to Harbor Freight and bought some night vision cameras and sound, and we took those up to the Hell House, and I had to buy extra wire, and every night I had to roll 300 foot of wire up, and I was like, this is enough. So then we went to the wireless, and now we just use regular cameras. All right, so no other Facebook questions or any questions? I want to thank Ellen.
Thank you guys all for coming. I'm really glad you all made it. We have some library copies of Mike's books.
Mine's not out yet.
Sign if you don't care.
Yes.
And then you guys can have copies signed. Are they available to purchase tonight?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Officially signed goods.
Woo.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are 10 apiece. What are the titles? Volume 1 is Lady in the Closet, another OCP investigation. 2 is Grandma's Babies. And 3rd is it's about my car wreck. So, and what I had to do to survive. You know these are going to decrease in value.
From our point of view, they're not.
And there's I'm going to turn to this real quick.
Yes,
if you
sure,
don't
sure.
care. There is all right, so this quote, and I kind of get emotional over this quote. This quote means a lot to me. It sits on my refrigerator. I get up every morning, I look at this quote. I go to bed, I look at this quote. So, like I say, it means a lot to me, this quote does. And hopefully it means a lot to you guys too. I will not even pretend to say the person's name who's done this, that I'll try it, but trust me. Okay, so wisdom is knowing I am nothing. Love is knowing I'm everything. And between the two, my life moves. So that's a very, I didn't find that quote till probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it means a lot to me. It's answered a lot of questions. So, and the quote there. And that person's name is, Nazaragati, yeah. It's in the book.
Well, thanks, Mike. Can't take your
I'll sit over there if you guys want to ask any more little questions or purchase something. I'll be right over there.